In this section of the course, we're going to actually work with these new automation and CI/CD tools from AWS. So in the console, and for this, you'll need to have an account and sign in, which I've done already. So you can see I'm signed in here with my demo account. We'll be working in this section here for developer tools. So you can see we've got CodeStar, Code Commit, Code Build, Code Deploy, and Code Pipeline. We'll also, I'm going to scroll down here, be working with some of the management tools, most notably CloudFormation. Now, just to give you a reference, because it's a lot of the word code of what these things do, first I'm going to categorize them and then I'm going to show you a picture. And what I've done just for reference is I've listed other services that are non-Amazon that I'm assuming some of you may have heard of or be familiar with, just to help you to place these new tools. Because as I said in a previous movie, all these CloudX developer tools are very new to the Amazon ecosystem, and I find that very few people have worked with them yet in production as of the time of this recording. So let's just take it from the left side here. So the tool type for the service template, this would mean that you have some way of capturing the AWS service configuration. So what's the configuration of an EC2 instance, for example? Like what are the instance size? What are the parameters around it? Same for the database. Same for any pipeline you might have like Kinesis. And as I mentioned in a previous movie, we captured that in my production project recently via scripts. But Amazon has a tool, and this is actually not a new tool, called CloudFormation that we'll be working with. So the idea here is that you have a script tool, and this uses the JSON format, that captures all this configuration information and can actually be checked in as code. Now, there are other services out there. Probably the one that I hear most often used is from HashiCorp. It's called Terraform. And the idea behind Terraform is that it is available across clouds. So if you're doing a multi-cloud solution, I see enterprises working with this. The next tool type is source control. Commonly, I'm using either Git or GitHub these days. Amazon has its own source control that's designed to integrate into its pipeline called Code Commit. So we'll be working with that in this section. The next section is test runners, and the ones that I've worked with depend on the language that my application's written in. So JUnit for Java, NUnit for .NET, Cucumber for Node. In the Amazon case, the new components, Code Commit, Code Build, so on and so forth, have integration with AWS Lambda from a triggering standpoint, so they could then run test runner scripts. So it's not really a product per se, rather than an integration point. From a build standpoint, a new tool that Amazon has is something called Code Build. And this is analogous, again, to depending on which language or library you're working in, the amount of building you have to do. For example, in the case of Java, I've used Maven. I've also used Gradle. So this is a tool that will run code builds. And around the deployment pipeline, which is the container for all these various stages, Amazon has a number of new products: Code Deploy, CodeStar, and Code Pipeline. These products are alternatives to some of the products that are available for both open source and enterprise use, such as Cruise Control, GoCD, Jenkins, TeamCity, Travis CI, TFS. That's a lot of things to categorize, so I'm going to take a picture from Amazon. So this is a pattern using some of the tools for continuous deployment pipeline. You can see on the left, we have our code going in. So we have application code and we have infrastructure code. And our developers or DevOps people are making a commit because they're either changing the application code or they're changing the service code, the infrastructure code. And that's going into source control. In the full Amazon service world, that would be the product called Code Commit. And that would be the beginning of your pipeline. As we're following on the continuous delivery process, the next component in the Amazon ecosystem would be Code Build. And here you would run your build and your unit tests to make sure that they're passing. Once they passed, then the next stage would be your staging area. And there are a number of tools that can be associated with the staging phase. These are CloudFormation, your service templates, Code Deploy, Elastic Beanstalk if you're doing managed compute, either on virtual machines, EC2 instances, or Docker containers, or OpsWorks. And this is particularly if you're working with a third-party deployment tool called Chef, because OpsWorks supports Chef stacks. On the far right, when you're deploying out to a production environment, Amazon tools and products include CloudFormation, Code Deploy, Elastic Beanstalk, and OpsWorks. Lots of components to look at. So in the next sections, we're actually going to dive in and work with them and work on building a CI/CD pipeline.